Ahead of tomorrow's election, California Attorney General Rob Bonta is calling on social media companies like Meta, YouTube, and Twitter to stop the spread of disinformation. And in case you missed it, Twitter's new owner, Elon Musk, just fired about half of the platform's staff. So the company's head of safety and integrity says the frontline moderation staff experienced the least impact from the layoffs. But former employees tweeted that the entire curation team and the ethics, transparency, and accountability team have been let go. They were responsible for creating information guides and studying how Twitter's algorithms affect the spread of misinformation. So let's go ahead and bring in Dr. Kim Nalder, who is the director of Project for an Informed Electorate at Sacramento State University. Kim, some people are saying that making these teams smaller will let disinformation run rampant. The Guardian saying it could be, quote, an information disaster. So how central is Twitter in our elections process?
Well, it is just the worst possible time for this to happen. It's like right before the big game, you lose a big chunk of your team and you still have to go into the game. Um, the effects on the election may not be as big as that sounds, though. Even if misinformation on Twitter is pretty rampant, it's not the major source of information for most Americans. But if you do look at Twitter for your news, you should take it with a grain of salt because there's unlikely to be the same level of moderation that we've been used to in years past.
And can you differentiate misinformation and disinformation for us?
Yeah, so misinformation is any information that is not correct. It's not factually correct. When it's in a person's head, it could have come from, an accident or something unintended. So sometimes, for example, we might take a story that's parody or satire seriously as if it's, not satire, and we would be misinformed, but that was by accident. Disinformation, on the other hand, is purposeful. It's something like we've seen the Russian government perpetrate on not just our democracy, but on other democracies around the world, where they're intentionally trying to cause chaos and, get certain folks elected and stop other people from getting elected.
And why do people tend to believe things that aren't true?
A lot of the time it's for emotional reasons. So one of the things that we know about humans' brains is that we have confirmation bias, meaning that we want to find things that we want to be true. And so even if it's not, we want to believe that it is. And another reason that people believe things that aren't true is that they've been told these things by people that they trust. So political leaders, media folks, friends and neighbors. If it's someone you trust and they're telling you things that are untrue, you're likely to believe it. And it's nice that it's part of human nature to be trusting, but it's not always warranted. So we need to be on guard even for, messengers that we generally think are honest.
And what are some tips that people can use at home, to help figure out if what they're reading is actually true?
It can be so hard. But one of the main things is that disinformation tends to target our emotions. And so if something sounds kind of outrageous and clickbaity, that's one of the signs. But if it also just kind of confirms political biases that you might have, and it just sounds a little too good to be true to you, it appeals to your emotions, that might be a sign. Good journalism is fact-based and has lots of sources. So if it sounds kind of sensational, emotional, one-sided, there aren't lots of sources, that's a good sign that you're probably not looking at something that's legitimate. Any good source will come from a reputable reporter, so you could look up their name and see if they're a legitimate reporter, or sometimes it's a bot. It's not even an actual human being. So social media accounts that were just created, don't trust those. There's just so much that we need to do, but the biggest thing is to be aware that people are out to try to fool you, and we have your guard up for that. Be ready for it and respond appropriately.
All right, Dr. Nalder, thank you so much. We appreciate your time.